Hello, welcome to Kitchen Basics 101, where I teach you the bare bone basics as if you've never cooked a day in your life from the perspective of a mom. We're finishing up our holiday cooking series, and turkey's coming tomorrow probably, or turkey might already be up. I'm gonna make what we call in our house Gigi stuffing, which is just that this is the stuffing that my grandma used to make. Remember when I first learned it, I was surprised that she actually uses stovetop stuffing in her stuffing, but she doesn't make it like the box directions, of course. She makes it her own special way. So we're gonna make it the way that Gigi made it. So first things first, we're doing a couple stalks of celery. We're gonna do an onion, some Granny Smith apples, some cranberries. This is my husband and my daughter's favorite. We also stuff the bird. So my parents prefer that stuffing because my dad and I don't eat onions. So we eat that stuffing that goes in the bird because it doesn't have any onions in it. But my husband and my daughter are so excited when they see this getting prepped. So they're pretty excited that I'm making it specially for you guys. So you're just gonna chop the celery up into not too small, a chunky dice. Because I guess this depends on your preference. If you don't really want to taste the celery, you want it to kind of melt into the dish, then I would cut it smaller. But my husband always says, I can't even taste the celery. So I leave it pretty chunky. We're going to do equal parts celery and onion and apple. I usually do is eyeball it. So I make a little pile on my cutting board of the celery. I'm going to cut up a whole onion and then see like, oh, do I need more celery or do I not? I just happen to be using my pastry knife because I had it out to cut some bread a little while ago. But you can use your regular kitchen knife for this. I've unwrapped the onion from its paper, from its outside, and I've just left the root intact. And I'm just going to, I sliced it this way across, and then I'm going to do like also a chunky dice on the onion as well. So we're just going to do a chunky dice on the onion as well. Tip this down flat to do this last little bit. Let's cut around the root. Beautiful. Celery is super sandy and dirty, so make sure when you are doing celery that you wash it really, really well and you rinse down these ribs of every single celery and like scrub it out because they get really sandy. I have more onion than I have celery, so I'm gonna cut one more celery stalk. We're gonna do our apple. I love a Granny Smith because it's like sweetness, but it's tartness as well. So I just cut it in half. And then I cut it in quarters, and then I go like on an angle, and I take out that core piece, right? And then I'm just gonna slice it into like 3 wedges, and then I'll just cube it into little cubes. So it's like roughly the chunky size of everything else. That might be a little bit bigger than the other stuff. Do it in like 1, 2, 3, and then cubes. Depending on the sharpness of your knife, you might want to go on the skin side. This pastry knife is very, very sharp and very slim. This is what I use for breads. I've got about equal parts celery, onions, Granny Smith, and dried cranberries. I love having everything prepped and ready before we start. So I'm gonna melt like a couple of tablespoons of butter into my pan. This recipe is very easily doubled, tripled. You just wanna have equal parts of all these ingredients. And then if you wanna make more, you're just gonna do more of each ingredient, and then you're gonna do more of the stuffing mix or the bread. So just gonna saute on medium heat this melted butter and these veggies just a little bit. You don't want them to get brown necessarily, but just so they get cooked, translucent, and beautiful. So this takes a couple of minutes. Added a little salt and pepper to our veggies as they're sweating, and they're just about there. You just want them to get kind of soft, and you want your onions to get a little bit translucent. So just a few minutes longer. Everybody's looking beautiful. Now we're gonna add our apples to the mix, and we're gonna stir that up. See, the onions are beginning to become translucent, which is what we're looking for. I'm gonna put our cranberries in and give that a toss. The smell is already so divine of just these aromatics. My husband could just eat this with a spoon. It's his favorite thing. Now we're gonna add a packet of this stovetop stuffing mix. Now I know people are gonna boo, whatever. This is just bread and seasoning, okay? That's all it is. So if you wanna do your own bread and you wanna do your own seasoning, go crazy, but this is what my grandma used. So we're gonna add that to our aromatics here. So here's our breadcrumbs and our seasoning. I'm gonna give it a little bit of a toss first. Now, if you are like, whoa, this is way too much veg and way too much fruit and not enough breading, you can do two things. One, you can do 2 packets of the stuffing mix, or 2, you could just add some cubed up bread or breadcrumbs to this if you want it to be more bready. My husband and my daughter really like it to be more veggie than bread. That's their preference. This is one of their well-loved dishes. So that's just personal. So I give it a little toss so that the breadcrumbs and everything coats all, and the aromatics and the butter and everything coats all the veggies and the fruit. And then I'm just gonna add a little bit of chicken bone broth or chicken stock. Now this could be vegetarian or vegan. If you used a veggie stock that was vegan and you used, I'm sure there's a stovetop stuffing mix that is vegetarian or vegan as well. This is just the turkey one, but you definitely don't have to use the turkey one. Or a little bit of the broth over top. I would say like maybe 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup. But it's very flexible. You just want it to have some moisture. We're actually gonna add a little bit more when we put it in the pan too, because we don't want it to dry out while it cooks. Transfer it to my dish. I wish you guys could smell this. Nothing here is raw, so you don't have to worry about how long you cook it for. What I do, I pour a little extra broth over top before I bake it. I will prep this while the turkey is cooking during the day, and then when the turkey comes out and it rests, I'll throw this into the 350-degree oven while the turkey rests. So 15, 20, 25 minutes. I just wait for the top to get all brown and crispy and beautiful. Absolutely stunning deliciousness. I'll see if I can get my husband to taste it for you guys. Because obviously I don't eat this one because it's full of onions, but yummo. It smells absolutely incredible. Like I cannot tell you. And you can always, if it looks dry to you, this is not dry. This is nice and moist and springy. But if it does, you can always drizzle a little more chicken broth over the top. Chef's kiss delicious. There's never any leftovers.